First contact. The Starship Odyssey hung in high orbit above the azure world of Zircon Prime, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of an alien sun. On the bridge, Captain Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the view screen before her. The planet below was a swirl of deep blues and vibrant greens, punctuated by the glinting lights of a civilization far more advanced than humanity had ever encountered. Any response to our hails, Lieutenant Chen? Reyes asked, her voice steady despite the tension thrumming through her body. Chen shook his head, fingers dancing over his console. Nothing yet, Captain, but we're detecting significant activity on the surface and in orbit. They know we're here. Reyes nodded, considering their next move. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of this moment, first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Now that it was here, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. One wrong move could have catastrophic consequences for Earth and all of humankind. Keep broadcasting on all frequencies, she ordered. Let's give them time to decide how to respond. As if on cue, the view screen flickered to life. The image of a humanoid figure appeared, its skin a pale lavender hue, and its eyes large and luminous. Intricate patterns adorned its bald head, shifting and changing color as it regarded the human crew. Greetings, visitors. The alien spoke, its voice a melodious blend of tones. I am High Emissary Zalfran of the Zirconian Collective. We have been observing your approach for some time. Reyes stepped forward, her heart racing. I am Captain Elena Reyes of the Earthship Odyssey. We come in peace, seeking friendship and the exchange of knowledge between our peoples. Zalfran's head tilted slightly, the patterns on its skin pulsing with curious energy. Your journey must have been long, Captain Reyes. We are intrigued by your presence. However, we must also express caution. Your species is unknown to us, and our history has taught us to be wary of strangers. We understand your caution, High Emissary, Reyes replied, choosing her words carefully. Humanity shares similar concerns when facing the unknown, but we believe that the potential benefits of peaceful contact far outweigh the risks. The alien's expression remained inscrutable, but there was a subtle shift in its posture. An interesting perspective. Perhaps there is wisdom in your words. We invite a small delegation from your ship to our orbital station for further discussions. Will you accept? Reyes glanced at her second-in-command, Commander Jack Morrison, who gave a slight nod. We would be honored, High Emissary. When and how should we proceed? Transmit the biological data of your chosen representatives. Zalfran instructed. We will make the necessary arrangements to ensure your safety and comfort. A transport will be dispatched to your location in 3 of your Earth hours. As the transmission ended, a palpable excitement spread through the bridge crew. Reyes turned to address her officers, her expression a mix of determination and cautious optimism. This is it, people. The moment we've all been training for, she said. Commander Morrison, you'll accompany me to the Zirconian station. Dr. Amelia Chen, you'll join us as our xenobiologist. Lieutenant Rodriguez, you have the con. As the chosen team prepared for their historic meeting, Reyes retreated to her ready room. She activated her personal log, needing to record her thoughts before the encounter. Captain's log, stardate 2250-7-103. We stand on the precipice of a new era for humanity. The Zirconians appear to be centuries, if not millennia, ahead of us technologically. Their world is a testament to what we might one day achieve. But with this opportunity comes great risks. We know nothing of their culture, their values, or their true intentions. As I prepare to meet with their leaders, I can't help but think of all the first contact scenarios we've run in simulations. None of them quite capture the mix of wonder and trepidation I'm feeling right now. She paused, collecting her thoughts before continuing. Our mission is clear. Establish peaceful relations, learn what we can, and ensure the safety of Earth and her colonies. But there's an undercurrent of something else, a chance to prove that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. We've come so far since our first tentative steps into space. Now we have the opportunity to show an advanced civilization what humans are truly capable of. I only hope we're up to the challenge. As Reyes finished her log entry, a chime at her door announced Commander Morrison's arrival. She granted him entry, noting the barely contained excitement in his eyes. "Pre-flight checks are complete, Captain," Morrison reported. "Dr. Chen is finalizing her equipment list. We'll be ready to depart on schedule." Reyes nodded, standing to adjust her uniform. "Excellent work, Jack. Any last-minute concerns?" Morrison hesitated before speaking. "Just one, Elena. Are we really ready for this? I mean, look at what they've achieved." He gestured towards the viewport, where Zircon Prime hung like a jewel against the velvet backdrop of space. "What if they see us as nothing more than primitive apes?" Reyes placed a reassuring hand on her friend's shoulder. "Then we'll just have to show them how wrong they are. Humanity has faced long odds before, Jack. We didn't get this far by doubting ourselves. We got here through courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable belief in our potential." A slow smile spread across Morrison's face. "You're right, of course. It's just the magnitude of all this. It's a bit overwhelming." "But it is," Reyes agreed. "But remember, the Zirconians are probably just as curious about us as we are about them. This is a learning opportunity for both our species." As they made their final preparations, the Odyssey's sensors detected movement near the planet. A sleek, silver craft detached from one of the orbital stations, its design unlike anything in Earth's fleet. It moved with impossible grace, covering the vast distance between Zircon Prime and the Odyssey in a matter of minutes. "Captain to the bridge," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "The Zirconian transport has arrived." Reyes and Morrison shared a meaningful look before heading to the bridge. As they arrived, the view screen showed the alien craft holding position a few hundred meters from the Odyssey. Its surface seemed to ripple and shift, as if it were made of liquid metal. "Open a channel," Reyes ordered, straightening her uniform one last time. The face of a different Zirconian appeared on screen, its skin a deeper shade of purple than Zolfran's. "Greetings, Odyssey. I am Pilot Vexlor. We are prepared to receive your delegation. Please have your representatives report to your airlock for transport." "Understood, Pilot Vexlor. We're on our way," Reyes responded, trying to keep the tremor of excitement out of her voice. As the communication ended, Reyes turned to her crew. "This is it, everyone. Morrison, Chen, with me. Rodriguez, you have operational command. If anything goes wrong..." Rodriguez nodded sullenly. "We'll be ready, Captain. But let's hope it doesn't come to that." The journey to the airlock was filled with a tense silence, each member of the delegation lost in their own thoughts. As they approached, Dr. Chen spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "Captain, I've been analyzing the biological data they sent us. The Zirconians, they're incredible. Their cellular structure, their neural pathways, it's like nothing we've ever seen. We could learn so much from them." Reyes smiled at the scientist's enthusiasm. "That's why you're here, Doctor. But remember, we're not just here to learn. We're here to represent humanity, to show them who we are and what we stand for." As they reached the airlock, Reyes took a deep breath, centering herself. The door hissed open, revealing a shimmering energy field that separated them from the vacuum of space. Beyond it, the Zirconian transport waited. "Well," Reyes said, a hint of a smile playing at her lips, "shall we make history?" With a collective nod, the three humans stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they passed through the energy field, they felt a momentary tingle, and then they were aboard the alien craft, surrounded by technology beyond their wildest dreams. The interior of the Zirconian ship was a marvel of organic curves and pulsing light. Surfaces that appeared solid one moment seemed to flow like water the next. In the center of the chamber stood Pilot Vexlor, flanked by two other Zirconians. "Welcome aboard," Vexlor said, its multi-toned voice even more haunting in person. "Please, make yourselves comfortable. We will arrive at the central station shortly." As the humans settled into seats that seemed to mold themselves to their bodies, Reyes couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Despite the overwhelming technology surrounding them, her team carried themselves with dignity and poise. They were the face of humanity now, and they would show the Zirconians that Earth was ready for this new frontier. The transport glided silently through space, and through the viewports, Reyes could see the massive Zirconian station growing larger. It was a sprawling structure of interconnected rings and spheres, dwarfing anything humans had built in space. As they approached, Reyes steeled herself for what was to come. The first official meeting between humans and Zirconians would set the tone for all future interactions. The fate of two civilizations might well hinge on the conversations about to take place. "Captain," Morrison whispered, leaning in close, "whatever happens in there, it's been an honor serving with you." Reyes nodded, her eyes fixed on the approaching station. "The honor is mine, Commander. Now, let's show these Zirconians what humanity is made of." The transport docked with a gentle thrum, and as the doors opened, Reyes and her team stood tall, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They stepped onto the station, into a new chapter of human history, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of billions back on Earth. The journey that had begun with humanity's first tentative steps into space had led them here, to the threshold of a new era. As they followed their Zirconian hosts deeper into the station, Reyes felt a swell of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever misunderstandings or conflicts might arise, she knew that humanity would face them with courage, ingenuity, and an unwavering spirit. The first contact had been made. Now, the real work would begin: cultural exchange. The days following first contact were a whirlwind of activity aboard the Zirconian Central Station. Captain Elena Reyes and her team found themselves immersed in a series of diplomatic meetings, scientific exchanges, and cultural presentations. The station itself was a marvel, its vast chambers and winding corridors a testament to Zirconian engineering prowess. As Reyes entered the main conference room for their daily briefing, she couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and trepidation. The room's walls seemed to breathe, shifting colors in response to the occupants' moods. At the center stood a holographic display of breathtaking clarity, currently showing a three-dimensional map of known space, both human and Zirconian. High Emissary Zalfran greeted the human delegation with a graceful bow. "Captain Reyes, Commander Morrison, Dr. Chen, I trust you found your accommodations satisfactory." Reyes nodded, offering a smile. "More than satisfactory, High Emissary. We're continually amazed by your hospitality and technology." Zalfran's skin rippled with pleased hues. "We are glad. Today, we hope to discuss the possibility of a cultural exchange program. Our council believes it would be beneficial for both our peoples to learn more about each other's ways of life." "That sounds like an excellent idea," Reyes replied, her excitement evident. "We have much to learn from each other." As they delved into the details of the proposed exchange, Dr. Chen couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. "High Emissary, if I may ask, your biology is fascinating. The way your skin changes color and texture, it's unlike anything we've encountered. How does it work?" Zalfran's expression shifted, the patterns on its skin becoming more complex. "Ah, Dr. Chen, your curiosity is admirable. However, we consider our biology to be a private matter. It is not something we discuss openly, especially with those we have just met." Chen's face fell, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. I apologize. I didn't mean to offend." Reyes quickly intervened. "Please forgive us, High Emissary. On Earth, the open exchange of scientific knowledge is highly valued. We sometimes forget that other cultures may have different customs." Zalfran's colors slowly returned to a neutral state. "No lasting harm done, Captain. These misunderstandings are to be expected as we learn about each other. Perhaps it would be beneficial to establish some guidelines for our interactions." The rest of the meeting was spent drafting a preliminary set of cultural protocols. By the end, both sides felt they had made progress, but an undercurrent of tension remained. As the human delegation left the conference room, Commander Morrison pulled Reyes aside. "Captain, I'm concerned. These Zirconians, they're holding back. Every time we try to learn something substantial about their technology or biology, they deflect." Reyes nodded, her brow furrowed. "I've noticed it too, Jack, but we need to tread carefully. We can't risk offending them or jeopardizing this opportunity." "I understand that, but what if they're not being entirely truthful with us? What if this is all some elaborate test?" Before Reyes could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of Vexlor, the Zirconian pilot who had first transported them to the station. "Captain Reyes, Commander Morrison," Vexlor greeted them, its skin shimmering with what they had come to recognize as excitement. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I wanted to invite you to observe our annual Festival of Lights. It's a significant cultural event, and we thought it might interest you." Reyes exchanged a glance with Morrison before responding. "We'd be honored, Pilot Vexlor. When does the festival begin?" "In just a few hours," Vexlor replied. "I can escort you to the observation deck when you're ready." As Vexlor departed, Reyes turned back to Morrison. "This could be the opportunity we've been waiting for, Jack. A chance to see the Zirconians in a less formal setting." Morrison nodded, though his expression remained skeptical. "Let's hope so. We could use some real insight into who these aliens really are." Hours later, the human delegation found themselves on a vast observation deck, surrounded by Zirconians of all ages. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Dr. Chen leaned in close to Reyes, whispering, "Captain, look at their skin. I've never seen patterns like this before." Indeed, the Zirconians' skin was alive with swirling patterns and pulsing lights, a dazzling display of color and motion. Suddenly, the lights on the station dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Outside, in the inky blackness of space, pinpricks of light began to appear. They started small, barely visible, but quickly grew in intensity and number. Soon, the void was filled with a breathtaking tapestry of light and color. Streams of energy danced and twisted, forming intricate patterns that seemed to tell a story. Vexlor, standing nearby, began to explain in hushed tones. "This is the cosmic dance, a natural phenomenon that occurs once in our solar cycle. Our ancestors believed it to be a message from the universe itself." As the humans watched in awe, Reyes couldn't help but feel a sense of connection. Despite their differences, both humans and Zirconians could appreciate the beauty of the cosmos. The moment was shattered by a sudden commotion. A group of younger Zirconians had approached Dr. Chen, their skin flashing with patterns that seemed aggressive. "Why do you stare at us so?" one of them demanded, its voice a harsh blend of tones. "Do you think us specimens to be studied?" Chen stumbled back, startled. No, I was just admiring the beauty of your bioluminescence. I meant no offense." The situation quickly escalated, with more Zirconians joining the confrontation. Their skin pulsed with angry colors, and their voices rose in a cacophony of alien tones. Reyes stepped forward, placing herself between Chen and the agitated Zirconians. "Please, let's all calm down. We're guests here, and we apologize for any misunderstanding." Zalfran arrived moments later, its presence immediately calming the crowd. "What is the meaning of this disruption?" One of the young Zirconians spoke up, its skin still flickering with agitation. "The humans, they watch us constantly, making notes, asking invasive questions. Are we not more than test subjects to them?" Zalfran turned to Reyes, its expression unreadable. "Captain, perhaps it would be best if your team retired for the evening. We can discuss this incident in the morning." Reyes nodded, her heart heavy. "Of course, High Emissary. Again, we apologize for any offense we may have caused." As they were escorted back to their quarters, the mood among the human delegation was somber. What had started as a beautiful cultural exchange had devolved into a diplomatic nightmare. Back in their common area, Morrison paced anxiously. "This is a disaster. We're barely a week into first contact, and we've already managed to insult our hosts." Dr. Chen sat slumped in a chair, her face in her hands. "It's my fault. I should have been more careful, more respectful of their privacy." Reyes looked between her two officers, her mind racing. "No, it's not just you, Amelia. We've all been so caught up in our excitement, our desire to learn, that we've forgotten to consider how our actions might be perceived." She walked to the viewport, gazing out at the alien station and the stars beyond. "We need to change our approach. We can't keep treating the Zirconians like subjects of study. We need to find a way to connect with them on a more personal level." Morrison joined her at the viewport. "But how? Every time we try to learn more about them, we seem to hit a wall." Reyes was quiet for a moment, considering. "Maybe that's our problem. We've been trying to learn about them, instead of letting them learn about us. Tomorrow, I'm going to propose something new to Zolfran. Instead of more formal exchanges, we'll invite them to experience human culture firsthand." "You mean bring them aboard the Odyssey?" Chen asked, perking up at the idea. Reyes nodded. "Exactly. We'll show them our music, our art, our food. Let them see who we are as a people, not just as explorers or scientists." Morrison stroked his chin thoughtfully. "It's risky. We'd be giving them access to our ship, our technology." "True," Reyes agreed. "But at this point, I think the greater risk is failing to establish a real connection with the Zirconians. We need to show them that we're more than just curious observers. We're potential friends and allies." As the plan took shape, a sense of renewed purpose filled the room. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but the human delegation was determined to make it work. Reyes turned back to her team, her expression resolute. "Get some rest, both of you. Tomorrow, we're going to show the Zirconians what humanity is really all about." As they retired for the night, none of them could have predicted the challenges that lay ahead. The cultural exchange was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would test the limits of human ingenuity and diplomacy in ways they never imagined. Looming threat. The following days saw a marked improvement in human-Zirconian relations. Captain Reyes' proposal to host the aliens aboard the Odyssey had been met with cautious enthusiasm by High Emissary Zolfran. The cultural exchange that followed was a whirlwind of music, art, and shared meals that seemed to bridge some of the gaps between the two species. However, as Reyes stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching a group of Zirconians marvel at Earth's night sky on the main viewscreen, she couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Her musings were interrupted by an urgent call from the science station. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Wong called out, her voice tense, "I'm picking up some unusual readings from the edge of the Zirconian system." Reyes strode over to Wong's station, her brow furrowed. "What kind of readings, Lieutenant?" Wong's fingers flew over her console, bringing up a series of complex graphs and charts. "It's hard to describe, Captain. It's like a ripple in space-time, but unlike anything we've ever encountered. And it's growing." Before Reyes could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life. "Odyssey, this is High Emissary Zolfran. We must speak immediately. It's a matter of utmost urgency." Reyes exchanged a worried glance with Commander Morrison. "Patch it through to my ready room," she ordered, already moving towards her office. As soon as the door closed behind her, Zolfran's image appeared on her screen. The Zirconian's skin was a roiling mass of dark, agitated colors. "Captain Reyes," Zolfran began without preamble, "I assume your sensors have detected the anomaly approaching our system." Reyes nodded, her suspicions confirmed. "We've just picked it up. What can you tell us about it?" Zolfran's expression was grim. "It is known to us as the Void Maw, a cosmic phenomenon of immense destructive power. It appears rarely, but when it does, it leaves only devastation in its wake." Reyes felt a chill run down her spine. How much time do we have? At its current rate of expansion, the void maw will reach the outer planets of our system in approximately 72 of your Earth hours. If it is not stopped, it will consume everything in its path. Reyes leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. Stopped. You mean there's a way to neutralize this thing? Zalfran's skin flickered with what Reyes had come to recognize as uncertainty. Theoretically, yes, but we have never successfully done so. Our last encounter with a void maw, centuries ago, resulted in the loss of an entire colony world. I see, Reyes said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. What do you need from us? There was a pause, and when Zalfran spoke again, its voice was heavy with reluctance. Captain Reyes, what I am about to propose goes against many of our deepest cultural taboos. But given the circumstances, I see no alternative. We need your help. Over the next hour, Zalfran explained the situation in detail. The void maw was a tear in the fabric of space-time, a hungry maw that devoured matter and energy alike. The Zirconians had developed theoretical models for closing such rifts, but their attempts to put these theories into practice had always failed. Our technology is advanced, Zalfran admitted, but it is also specialized. We have focused our development in certain areas while neglecting others. Your ship, primitive as it may seem to us in some ways, possesses capabilities that ours do not. Reyes listened intently, her mind already formulating plans. You're talking about our warp drive, she said. It wasn't a question. Zalfran's skin pulsed with affirmation. Yes, the way your ships manipulate subspace. It's crude by our standards, but it might be exactly what we need to seal the void maw. As the details of the plan emerged, Reyes felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What Zalfran was proposing was incredibly risky. It would involve modifying the Odyssey's warp core in ways it was never designed for, then flying the ship directly into the maw of the spatial anomaly. I'll need to discuss this with my crew, Reyes said finally. And I'll need full access to your data on the void maw and your previous attempts to neutralize it. Zalfran agreed readily, its skin now showing colors of hope mixed with fear. Of course, I'll have everything transferred to your ship immediately. And Captain, thank you. Whatever happens, know that the Zirconian people are grateful for your willingness to help. As the transmission ended, Reyes sat back in her chair, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. She had come to this alien world seeking friendship and knowledge. Now she found herself facing a threat that could destroy not just the budding relationship between humans and Zirconians, but entire worlds. She tapped her come badge. Senior staff to the conference room immediately. We have a situation. The next few hours were a flurry of activity. As Reyes briefed her team on the void maw and the Zirconians' proposed plan, she could see the mix of emotions playing across their faces: fear, excitement, determination. Dr. Chen was the first to speak up after the briefing. Captain, the scientific possibilities here are staggering. If we can successfully close this rift, it could revolutionize our understanding of space-time. Assuming we survive the attempt, Morrison added grimly, Captain, you realize what they're asking is practically a suicide mission. Reyes nodded, her expression serious. I'm well aware of the risks, Commander. That's why I'm not ordering anyone to participate. This mission will be strictly volunteer. To her pride but not her surprise, every member of her senior staff immediately volunteered. Chief Engineer Marcus Lopez was already poring over the Zirconian data. It's going to be tricky, Captain. We'll essentially be turning the warp core inside out. One miscalculation and we could tear ourselves apart before we even reach the void maw. Then we'll double and triple check every calculation, Reyes said firmly. Work with the Zirconian engineers. I want a prototype of the modifications ready for testing in 12 hours. As her team dispersed to their tasks, Reyes found herself once again gazing out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an incomprehensible cosmic force was bearing down on them, threatening to destroy everything in its path. The fate of two civilizations now rested on the shoulders of her crew, and a hastily cobbled-together plan. But as she watched her team spring into action, Reyes felt a surge of pride and determination. This was what humanity did best, facing the impossible, adapting, improvising, and somehow finding a way to prevail. Well, she murmured to herself, a hint of a smile playing at her lips. I wanted to show the Zirconians what humans are really capable of. Looks like we're about to get our chance. The next 2 days were a blur of frenetic activity. The Odyssey became a hive of collaborative effort, with human and Zirconian scientists and engineers working side by side. Cultural misunderstandings and diplomatic missteps were set aside in the face of the looming threat. As the deadline approached, Reyes found herself in engineering, watching as Lopez and his Zirconian counterpart made the final adjustments to the modified warp core. The usually pristine engine room was a chaos of cables, makeshift control panels, and jury-rigged systems. "How's it looking, Chief?" Reyes asked, trying to keep the tension out of her voice. Lopez wiped sweat from his brow, his expression a mix of exhaustion and excitement. "It's ready as it'll ever be, Captain. We've run every simulation we can think of. According to the models, this should generate a subspace field strong enough to seal the rift." "Should?" Morrison questioned, having just entered the room. The Zirconian engineer, whose name was Vox, spoke up. Its skin was a swirl of anxious colors. "There are many unknowns, Commander. We are operating at the very edge of our scientific understanding." Reyes nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Well, we're about to push beyond that edge. Are we ready for the final test?" Lopez and Vox exchanged a glance before nodding in unison. "We are, Captain," Lopez confirmed. "All right then," Reyes said, tapping her com badge. "Bridge, this is the captain. Begin final countdown for warp core test ignition." As the countdown began, Reyes felt the ship hum with energy. The modified warp core pulsed with an eerie blue light, unlike anything she'd seen before. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing, a shimmering field of energy burst into existence around the warp core. It pulsed and writhed, seeming to bend the very light around it. Alarms blared as the ship's systems struggled to cope with the enormous energy output. "Containment fields at maximum," Lopez shouted over the din. "Power levels holding. By God, Captain, I think it's working." For 30 agonizing seconds, the Odyssey shuddered and groaned under the strain. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the energy field collapsed, leaving the warp core pulsing softly in its housing. A cheer went up from the assembled crew, human and Zirconian alike. Reyes let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Great work, everyone. Now comes the hard part." As the crew began preparations for their confrontation with the Void Maw, Reyes retreated to her ready room. She had one more call to make. The face of Admiral Jenna Chen, head of Starfleet Command, appeared on her screen. "Captain Reyes, I've reviewed your report on the situation. Are you certain this is the only way?" Reyes nodded solemnly. "I am, Admiral. If we don't try, billions will die. The Zirconians have given us access to technology beyond our wildest dreams to make this work. We have to take the chance." Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "Very well, Captain. You have Starfleet's authorization to proceed. But Alina, be careful out there. What you're attempting, it's unprecedented." "I understand, Admiral. We'll do our best to come back in one piece." As the transmission ended, Reyes allowed herself a moment of reflection. In a few short hours, they would be facing a force of nature so powerful it could consume entire worlds. The modified Odyssey was their only hope of stopping it. She thought of Earth, of her family, of all that was at stake. Then she thought of the Zirconians, of the newfound trust they had placed in humanity. Whatever happened next, they had already achieved something remarkable. 2 alien species, setting aside their differences to face a common threat. With a deep breath, Reyes straightened her uniform and headed for the bridge. It was time to rally her crew for the greatest challenge of their lives. The Void Maw awaited, a hungry maw in the fabric of space-time. But standing against it was the combined will and ingenuity of two civilizations. As the Odyssey prepared for its daring mission, the true test of humanity's place among the stars was about to begin. Unlike the Alliance, the Odyssey hung in space at the edge of the Zirconian system, its hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. On the bridge, Captain Elena Reyes stood at the center of a flurry of activity. Human and Zirconian crew members worked side by side, their earlier mistrust replaced by a shared sense of purpose. "Status report," Reyes called out, her voice steady despite the tension thrumming through the ship. Lieutenant Wong responded from the science station, her voice tight with concentration. "The Void Maw is continuing to expand, Captain. At current rates, it will reach the outermost Zirconian colony in approximately 3 hours. Commander Morrison chimed in from tactical. "Weapons and shields are at maximum. Not that they'll do much good against that." He gestured towards the main view screen, where the Void Maw loomed. It was a sight that defied description. A writhing mass of darkness that seemed to devour light itself, bordered by tendrils of energy that lashed out into space. As Reyes watched, a small asteroid drifted too close and was instantly shredded, pulled into the Maw's hungry depths. "Warp core modifications are holding steady," Chief Engineer Lopez reported from engineering. "We're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain." Reyes nodded, taking a deep breath. "All right, people. This is it. We've trained for the impossible, and now we're facing it. Remember, our job is to get close enough to deploy the modified warp field. If it works, it should create a subspace bubble that will collapse the Void Maw in on itself." She paused, looking around at her crew, human and Zirconian alike. "I won't lie to you. This is the riskiest mission any of us have ever undertaken. But the stakes couldn't be higher. Not just for the Zirconian people, but for the future of human-alien relations. Today, we proved that different species can work together to overcome even the greatest challenges." A beep from the communication console interrupted her. "Captain," the young ensign at the station called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zirconian flagship." On screen, Reyes ordered. The image of High Emissary Zalfran appeared, its skin a swirl of determined colors. "Captain Reyes, we are in position to provide support as discussed. Our vessels will attempt to draw off the energy tendrils, giving the Odyssey a clearer path to the center of the anomaly." Reyes nodded. "Understood, High Emissary. We appreciate the assist. Let's hope this works." As the transmission ended, Reyes turned back to her crew. "Battle stations, everyone. Helm, take us in, full impulse. Morrison, keep those shields at maximum. Wong, I want constant updates on the Maw's energy output." The Odyssey surged forward, its powerful engines pushing it towards the cosmid anomaly. Around them, sleek Zirconian ships moved into formation, their advanced energy weapons firing precise bursts at the Void Maw's tendrils. As they drew closer, the ship began to shudder. Gravitational forces increasing, Wong reported, her fingers flying over her console. "The Maw is trying to pull us in." Compensating, the helm officer responded, his face a mask of concentration. Reyes gripped the arms of her chair, watching as the Void Maw grew to fill the entire view screen. The Zirconian ships darted around them, drawing off the energy tendrils with remarkable precision. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Energy spike," Wong shouted, massive tendril forming directly ahead. "Evasive maneuvers," Reyes ordered, but she knew it was too late. The tendril lashed out, striking the Odyssey with terrifying force. The ship rocked violently, consoles exploding in showers of sparks. Reyes was thrown from her chair, landing hard on the deck. "Damage report," she called out, pulling herself back to her feet. Morrison's voice was grim. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. Emergency force fields are holding, but barely." We've lost main power to the port nacelle. Rhea's mind raced. They were crippled, being pulled inexorably towards the heart of the void maw. But they were also closer than they'd ever be again. Lopez, she shouted into her badge. We need that warp field now. We're not in position yet, Captain. Lopez's voice was strained. If we deploy now, the field won't be stable enough to collapse the maw. Another violent shudder ran through the ship. We don't have a choice, Reyes responded. Do it now, or we'll be torn apart. There was a moment of tense silence, then Lopez's voice came back. Aye, Captain. May God have mercy on our souls. Initiating warp field in 3, 2, 1. The modified warp core surged to life, its energy pulsing through the ship. On the view screen, Reyes watched as a shimmering bubble of subspace energy began to form around the Odyssey. It's working, Wong exclaimed. The maw's energy signature is fluctuating. But their victory was short-lived. As the warp field expanded, the void maw seemed to recoil, then lash out with renewed fury. Energy tendrils slammed into the Odyssey from all sides, threatening to tear the ship apart. Structural integrity failing, Morrison shouted over the din of alarms. We can't take much more of this. Reyes gritted her teeth, her mind racing for a solution. They were so close, but the maw was too strong. They needed more power, more. Suddenly, the ship rocked again, but this time it was different. Through the view screen, Reyes saw a Zirconian ship pull alongside them, its sleek hull glowing with energy. Captain Reyes, Zolfran's voice crackled over the comm. We're channeling our ship's power into your warp field. Our scientists believe this will provide the additional stability you need. Reyes felt a surge of hope. Do it, she ordered. The effect was immediate. The warp field around the Odyssey pulsed brighter, pushing back against the void maw's tendrils. On her console, Wong's eyes widened. Captain, the maw's energy signature is collapsing in on itself. Full power to the warp field. Reyes commanded. Everything we've got. The ship groaned under the strain, but held together. On the view screen, the void maw seemed to contort, its darkness twisting in on itself. There was a moment of absolute silence, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, with a flash of light that momentarily blinded everyone on the bridge, the void maw collapsed. Where once there had been a tear in the fabric of space-time, now there was only the star-studded blackness of normal space. For a moment, no one on the bridge moved or spoke. Then, slowly, a cheer began to build. It started with Wong, spread to Morrison, and soon the entire bridge crew, human and Zirconian alike, were celebrating their impossible victory. Reyes allowed herself a small smile before bringing the crew back to focus. Damage report, all stations. Wong, scan the area. Make sure that thing is really gone. As the crew bustled around her, Reyes sank back into her chair, the adrenaline of the moment giving way to exhaustion. They had done it. Against all odds, humans and Zirconians had worked together to face down a cosmic horror and emerged victorious. The communication console beeped again. Captain, the ensign called out. Incoming transmission from the Zirconian flagship. Zolfran's image appeared on screen, its skin a riot of joyous colors. Captain Reyes, words cannot express our gratitude. You and your crew have saved not just our world, but countless others that lay in the maw's path. Reyes nodded, her smile genuine. We couldn't have done it without you, High Emissary. This was a victory for both our peoples. As the transmission ended, Reyes looked around at her battered but unbroken ship, at the mix of human and Zirconian faces that had come together in their hour of need. In that moment, she knew that something profound had changed. The alliance forged in the face of the void maw was more than just a temporary joining of forces. It was the beginning of something new, a bridge between two civilizations that had once seemed impossibly different. The journey home would be long, the damage to the Odyssey extensive. But as Reyes gave the order to set a course back to Zircon Prime, She felt a sense of hope and possibility that far outweighed the challenges ahead. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not through conquest or technological superiority, but through cooperation, ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit of exploration. As the Odyssey limped back towards Zirconian space, escorted by a fleet of grateful allies, Elena Reyes knew that the true adventure was just beginning. The final push. In the days following the Void Maw incident, the Odyssey underwent extensive repairs in Zirconian orbital shipyards. The once tense atmosphere between the two species had given way to a spirit of camaraderie and shared purpose. As Captain Elena Reyes stood in the shipyard's observation deck, watching Zirconian engineers work alongside her own crew, she couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Commander Morrison's voice came from behind her. Reyes nodded, turning to face her second-in-command. "It's more than I ever hoped for when we first made contact. But Jack, I can't shake the feeling that our work here isn't done." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, Captain?" Before Reyes could respond, her combadge chirped. "Captain Reyes, your presence is requested in Conference Room Alpha. High Emissary Zalfran has arrived with urgent news." Exchanging a glance with Morrison, Reyes tapped her badge. "Acknowledged. We're on our way." As they entered the conference room, they found an assembly of both human and Zirconian officials. Zalfran stood at the head of the table, its skin rippling with colors that Reyes had come to recognize as a mix of excitement and concern. "Captain Reyes, Commander Morrison, thank you for joining us," Zalfran began. "We've made a discovery that I believe will be of great interest to both our peoples." With a gesture, Zalfran activated a holographic display in the center of the table. A three-dimensional map of the sector appeared, with a pulsing red dot at its edge. "Our long-range sensors have detected another spatial anomaly," Zalfran explained. "While not as immediately threatening as the Void Maw, it shares many similar characteristics. We believe it may be a precursor to a full-fledged Maw." Reyes leaned forward, studying the map intently. "How long do we have before it becomes a threat?" "Based on our projections, approximately 3 Earth months," a Zirconian scientist replied. "However, there's more. We've detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the anomaly. Signatures that don't match any known natural phenomenon." Morrison's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting this anomaly might be artificial?" Zalfran's skin flickered with affirmation. "It's a possibility we can't ignore. If someone or something is creating these rifts in space-time, then the threat to both our civilizations is far greater than we imagined." Reyes finished, her mind racing with the implications. For the next few hours, the assembled team pored over data, discussed theories, and began to formulate a plan. It quickly became clear that neither humans nor Zirconians alone had the full range of knowledge and technology needed to tackle this new threat. "What we need," Reyes said, standing to address the room, "is a joint mission. A specially outfitted ship, crewed by the best of both our species, to investigate this anomaly and, if necessary, neutralize it." Zalfran's skin pulsed with agreement. "An excellent suggestion, Captain. We have been working on a new class of vessel, one that incorporates some of the modifications we made to the Odyssey. With your input, we could adapt it for this mission." As the meeting adjourned, plans already in motion, Reyes found herself filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. This would be more than just a scientific expedition or a diplomatic mission. It could be the key to safeguarding both their civilizations from an unknown threat. Over the next weeks, the project took shape with remarkable speed. The new ship, christened the Harmony, was a marvel of hybrid technology. It combined the robust engineering of human starships with the advanced energy systems of Zirconian vessels. Its crew was carefully selected from both species, each chosen for their expertise and their ability to work in a mixed-species environment. As the launch date approached, Reyes stood in the Harmony's engine room, marveling at the seamless integration of human and Zirconian technology. Chief Engineer Lopez was explaining the modifications to a group of fascinated Zirconian engineers. "The real breakthrough," Lopez was saying, his eyes alight with enthusiasm, was figuring out how to synchronize our warp field with your phase shift drive. In theory, it should allow us to navigate even the most turbulent areas of subspace. One of the Zirconians, Vexna, nodded in agreement, and the integration of our quantum shielding with your deflector array should provide unprecedented protection against spatial distortions. Reyes smiled, remembering the early days of their contact when such open sharing of technology would have been unthinkable. They had come so far, and yet the greatest challenges still lay ahead. The day of launch arrived with a mixture of ceremony and nervous energy. As Reyes took her place in the captain's chair of the Harmony, she looked around at her diverse crew. Humans and Zirconians worked side by side at every station, their earlier mistrust replaced by professional respect and, in many cases, genuine friendship. "All systems ready, Captain," Morrison reported from the tactical station. "Zirconian Central Command has given us clearance for departure," the communications officer added. Reyes took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This mission could determine the fate of two civilizations, but as she looked at her crew, she felt a surge of confidence. Together, they were more than equal to the challenge. "Helm," she ordered, her voice clear and strong. "Take us out. Set course for the anomaly, maximum safe speed." As the Harmony glided out of space dock, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of Zircon Prime, Reyes felt a sense of destiny. Whatever they found out there in the depths of space, whether it was a natural phenomenon or the work of some unknown intelligence, they would face it together. The ship accelerated, leaving the Zirconian system behind. On the main view screen, stars stretched into streaks of light as they entered warp. They were embarking on a journey into the unknown, carrying with them the hopes and fears of two worlds. As the Harmony raced towards its rendezvous with the mysterious anomaly, Reyes couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. From first contact to facing cosmic threats together, humans and Zirconians had forged a bond that transcended their differences. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was certain of one thing: united, they were stronger than they could ever be apart. The final push towards understanding the anomaly and securing their future had begun. As the Harmony surged forward into the unknown, Captain Elena Reyes and her crew stood ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them. Together, new horizons. The Harmony dropped out of warp at the edge of an unremarkable star system, its sensors immediately scanning the area for signs of the anomaly. On the bridge, Captain Elena Reyes leaned forward in her chair, eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. Lieutenant Wong, the human science officer, worked in tandem with her Zirconian counterpart, Vexlor. Their fingers danced over their consoles in perfect synchronization. "Anomaly detected, Captain," Wong announced. "Bearing 121 Mark IV. It's different from what we expected." The view screen shifted, revealing a shimmering distortion in space. Unlike the void maw they had faced before, this anomaly pulsed with a rhythmic energy, its edges clearly defined. Vexler's skin rippled with excitement as he added, "The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases, Captain. It's clearly artificial, but the technology behind it, it's beyond even Zirconian understanding." Reyes nodded, her mind racing. "Take us in closer, Helm. Nice and easy. Morrison, keep those shields at maximum." As the Harmony glided towards the anomaly, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. Humans and Zirconians moved in concert, their earlier cultural differences now a source of strength rather than division. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Energy spike," Wong called out. "Something's coming through the anomaly." The view screen flared with brilliant light, forcing the crew to shield their eyes. When the glare faded, a sight beyond imagination greeted them. A vessel hung in space before them, if it could be called a vessel at all. It seemed to be composed of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and flowing. Tendrils of light extended from its core, probing the space around it. "My God," Morrison breathed. "What is that thing?" Before anyone could respond, a beam of energy lanced out from the alien vessel, enveloping the Harmony. Reyes braced herself for an attack, but instead, she felt a tingling sensation wash over her mind. "Captain," the communications officer called out, her voice filled with awe, "we're receiving a transmission directly into our minds." The bridge fell silent as each crew member experienced the same phenomenon. It wasn't words they heard, but rather concepts and emotions flowing into their consciousness like a river. Reyes closed her eyes, focusing on the alien communication. Images flashed through her mind. Vast cosmic tapestries, civilizations rising and falling, the birth and death of stars. She understood then that they were in the presence of something ancient and unimaginably advanced. When she opened her eyes, she saw her crew, human and Zirconian alike, looking at each other with expressions of wonder and newfound understanding. "They're not hostile," Reyes said, certainty in her voice. "They're explorers like us, but on a scale we can barely comprehend." Vexler's skin pulsed with colors of agreement. "They've been watching us, Captain. The Void Maw, this anomaly, they were tests." "Tests?" Morrison asked, his brow furrowed. Reyes nodded slowly, the alien concept still swirling in her mind, "to see if we could work together. If we were ready." As if in response to her words, the alien vessel pulsed with light. The anomaly behind it began to shift and expand, revealing glimpses of wonders beyond imagination. "They're inviting us," Reyes realized, a smile spreading across her face. "To join them, to explore realms of space we never knew existed." For a moment, the bridge was silent as the implications sank in. Then, slowly, excitement began to build. Human and Zirconian crew members turned to each other, their eyes alight with the promise of discovery. Reyes stood, addressing her crew with a voice filled with emotion. "This is more than just first contact. This is an opportunity to step onto a galactic stage we never knew existed. But we don't go alone." She turned to Vexler, extending her hand. "We go together, as partners and friends." Vexler's hand met hers, his skin glowing with colors of joy and anticipation. "Together," he agreed. As the Harmony prepared to follow the alien vessel into the unknown, Reyes couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. From the tense first meetings to the battle against the Void Maw, from cultural misunderstandings to the forging of deep friendships, every step had led to this moment. The anomaly beckoned, a gateway to new horizons. With a shared look of determination, the human and Zirconian crew of the Harmony set course for the future. They were no longer two separate species fumbling towards understanding, but a united force ready to take their place among the stars. As the Harmony glided forward, enveloped in the warm light of their new alien guides, Reyes felt a profound sense of hope. Whatever wonders or challenges awaited them beyond that shimmering portal, they would face them together. The true adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. The ship passed through the anomaly, leaving behind the familiar stars of their home galaxies. In that moment, as they crossed the threshold into a new era of exploration and cooperation, Reyes knew that they had achieved something truly remarkable. They had not only saved their worlds from cosmic threats, but had also forged a bond between species that would endure across the vastness of space and time. As the anomaly closed behind them, the Harmony surged forward into a universe of infinite possibilities. The crew, human and Zirconian alike, stood ready to write the next chapter in their shared history, a story of unity, discovery, and the indomitable spirit of exploration that united them all. The journey that had begun with a cautious first contact had led them here, to the threshold of a cosmic community they had never imagined. And as they took their first steps into this new realm, Captain Elena Reyes knew that together, there was no challenge they couldn't overcome, no frontier they couldn't explore. The future, vast and bright with promise, awaited them.